you can show. Yeah, so I'm Anne-Marie, Soul Awakening Academy and owner of Quantum Holographic Echo Healing. So I've shown up today in my sleep attire with unbrushed hair, no makeup, just coming on as my true authentic self, because I was about to put my makeup on and choose a nice top and do all of those things that, you know, you feel you should do when you're going to show up on camera and post your videos and share them on your social media channels. When you kind of open yourself up to that level of exposure where, you know, when things are shared, people have the right to comment and make judgment on you. So it suddenly occurred to me that why am I doing this when Chiron is all about showing up as your true authentic self? The Chiron wound in Aries that's being activated, that was really activated a couple of days ago with the Aries new moon. It's all about authenticity. It's all about your identity. It's all about you owning your right to be here and show up as your true self, rather than trying to kind of pretend to be anything other than who you really are. So say hi if you're here. I've got my other computer on. So I'll just give everybody a little moment to join. So this is over on my new, well, it's not a new group. Morning. Hi. Successful, Sassy and Spiritual. So if anybody on YouTube wants to join the group, it's for people who probably carry a heavy Chiron placement in their chart, who have been a healer in many other lifetimes, who've been born into this world feeling like on some level they just don't belong, or they've had to fight through their wounds of their self-identity. So I'm going to tell you some of the challenges of Chiron and why Chiron is so important. So Chiron is it's glyph, if you like, it's a symbol in astrology, is a key. And the reason it's a key, or there's a couple of reasons why I feel like that key is so significant. Number one, in my business, I now train people to become spiritual life coaches and quantum holographic echo healers. Time and time again, on my own journey, pretty much 99% of the people that I train and speak to and mentor, etc., all carry the same wounding. It may show up differently and it may affect them differently, but they all show up with the same level of lack of self-worth and self-belief and self-confidence and fear of being seen. I too have suffered terribly in my life and then in my business, showing up and being seen, and I still know that that's there. You know, it's just something that I work through, but the level of shame that I feel when I am just being looked at by a group of people is completely overwhelming to me. So I carry a really heavy Chiron placement in my chart. If anyone knows astrology, it's conjunct my south node. So your south node is your past life. It's where you've been before. It's where you come in. You bring the gifts with it. You bring the lessons in with it. But Chiron slapped right bang on my south node in my 10th house of career, being seen in Aries, which is the first of the zodiac signs. So Aries is all about new beginnings, new initiatives, the go-getter, the fire starter. But it's all about identity as well. So the Aries is all about your identity, your place in the world. So if you have Chiron in Aries, so it doesn't matter if you do or you don't have it natally, everybody's being activated now because it's happening for everybody. There's a transit of Chiron in Aries, so it's happening for everybody. So all healers, all light workers, everybody anyway, will be potentially expressing this wound on some level. So let me know, guys, if you're watching this on Facebook, just share what resonates with you so far out of what I'm saying. So Chiron in Aries is going to make you feel that you don't belong. Potentially, you don't have the right to exist. You don't belong here. You don't fit in with us. You're disconnected. You're on your own. You've been abandoned. All of these themes come up with Chiron in Aries. So let me know how that resonates with you, and we can look at the archetype potentially. So Laura says she has a few days last week. Oh yes, where she really questions what she was doing. Yeah, I feel like it's gone now, thank goodness. Yes, it has, because that new moon was activating it all, and it's kind of moved away. But there are other placements there now. I think Mercury's there, the sun is still there, and that will be I think that's activating some other planets as well. I can have a look at the chart, but yeah, everybody felt it last week, which is crazy. I hugely felt it, to the point where it was like, do I just quit this whole thing or what? And then it's funny because, you know, things move away. The planets don't sit still. Some of them do, but the fast moving planets like the sun and the moon, they move away. So it's that energy starts to dissipate. So everybody did feel this, that I am connected to on social media, because I could see it. I posted and the feedback was the same. So it's so true, that saying, as above, so below. You know, we are part of the cosmos and nature, and we get affected by everything. Laura says, please don't ever stop. No, I will never stop, Laura, because I am a fighter, and I will never, ever stop pushing through things, thankfully. Touch wood, I always feel that way. Leah says she's been feeling good, then have been reflecting the last 2 days. Yeah, good. It's nice to reflect and think about what's going on and what you need to do to move it forward. So interestingly, now this might not mean so much to you, but I have a course called Chakra Alchemy. So it's part of quantum holographic echo healing, which is funnily enough, a deep root cause energy healing system that talks to your body, that talks to your biofield, to get the answers to the most limiting beliefs that are affecting you right now. So it's like peeling back a layer. As a subset of that, I created Chakra Alchemy. Now, Chakra Alchemy talks about the planets and how we can use the planets to alchemize and transform areas of our life. The biggest planets that we talk about in Chakra Alchemy are Saturn and Uranus. Actually, Neptune, Saturn, and Uranus, because they come through in the tree of life as something called the Supernal Triangle, which is like the most kind of spiritual activation from a divine source. Activates these 3 major planets, Neptune, Uranus, and Saturn, that then and that is the kind of catalyst for our spiritual beingness, if you like, based on the Sefer Yetzirah, which is the tree of life, the tree of knowledge. Uranus is the great awakener in astrology. It's a planet that brings around great change, like great insight. It's not material, it's very ethereal and lightning bolt. It's probably, as I think about that, it's almost like the effervescent spark of energy that creates, you know, when the egg and the sperm come together, that lightning bolt, you know, that's the Uranus, that flash of light that brings it all together, that creates the life force. And then you have Saturn, which is the creator, if you like. He, she, however you refer to Saturn, the planet, is the one that brings in everything else in, now goes into material form. So if you think about that fertilization process, Saturn then takes on the process of creating the body parts, the cells, the limbs, the lymph system, the endocrine system, the eyes, the ears. Saturn then does the work to create. So these are the the planets that Chiron orbits Saturn and Uranus, which I find really interesting. Chiron isn't a planet of its own, it's an asteroid. So the asteroids are like fiery, you know, they're on fire. It's not a planet like kind of Venus or Neptune or anything like that. It's an asteroid. So it orbits between these two amazing, most powerful spiritual creative forces that we have. And the glyph to it is the key, which I'll talk more about. If you have any questions as I go, please just post them here and I'll try my best to answer them. So I've made some notes, let me see. So let me think. So because Chiron is within the orbit of these two spiritual planets, it links to our personal experience and our collective experience. So it's kind of the bridge between these two worlds. You know, it's like having one foot in the 3D experience that we see around us, touch, feel, taste, smell, and then the you know, external or collective experience where we know things are happening and we're connected to each other all on a much deeper level. And interestingly enough, at the moment with, you know, the war going on, even though, you know, we're not having particularly a war here in the UK, have you noticed the war that's been going on in your own brain, in your own life, in your own neighborhood? You know, everything is connected. So even though we might not be experiencing that actual event is happening somewhere in our own life. It has to be. It cannot not be. It will be felt by the ripple effect, by the field that we're all connected to. We will be experiencing on some level a war within ourselves. Now, I have been experiencing this for the past week or so, like the two parts of the brain, you know, warring at myself, like looking at myself, criticizing myself. I mean, where the hell is this coming from? And I think, okay, it's an effect, it's a ripple effect, because we can have a positive effect when we collectively meditate. We can positively influence the collective consciousness in a way that brings calm and peace. Therefore, the opposite is true. Wherever there's tension, strife, war, trauma, chaos, that will have a ripple effect into the collective consciousness and we will feel it. So ask yourself, question the things that are going on in your own life. How can you bring a level of awareness to that and say, is this really me? You know, is this really you? And what can you do to stop that? Because at the end of the day, I would imagine that all of us would like to stop war, full stop. You can influence that by stopping the war that is going on in your own life, in your own mind, within your own thoughts and energy field. So why is Chiron the key? So Chiron's story is, and this is why it's so crazy with where it is in my chart. Chiron's story is he was born through, I believe, a traumatic experience with his mum. His mum was raped by a god. I can't think who the god was now. And Chiron was born. And he was a half centaur, so half horse and half god. So he was not accepted as a god. He was not accepted by his own kind because he was half animal and half god. So his mother and father didn't accept him when he was born, so he was cast out and he was to live a life of abandonment and rejection. And the story goes that he was forever trying to heal his own pain. He was always trying to find cures to cure himself with his own pain, and in doing so he healed the masses. So he was an alchemist, you know, he was a healer, and he created cures for people's physical pains, emotional pains, I guess, I don't know, pains of all kinds, because he was on the quest to heal himself. And that's quite often the path of the wounded healer. people like myself and other healers and whatever you like to call yourself, a light worker or a spiritual person, we tend to give, because in that giving, there's this ripple effect of receiving that healing for ourselves. And it's quite often that we go down the path of trying to help other people through the pain that we've gone through ourselves. Obviously, we have to be very mindful of that and have done, as much work on ourselves as we possibly can, even though it's a continual process. And the point is to get to a place in your own life with your own healing journey, as to then not, if you do work with other people, then not to project that and transfer that onto your clients, because then you can cause harm, and that's not the intention of what we do. So first and foremost, before we go out and heal anyone else, remember, we are seeing the world potentially through our own pain. So we must look at our own pain and work through our own stuff to the deepest level as we possibly can within that, wherever we are at. And then we can go further and further and further. So Chiron very much will give you the feelings, number one, that you're here for a reason, because Aries is the initiator, he's the go-getter, he's the beginning of the chart, so he wants to start things. Aries is not somebody who sits around and never has an idea or never wants to get a project off the ground. Aries is the taskmaster. If you have a group of people, or and you need a project manager, then you stick an Aries as that project manager and leader. So if you think about that, Aries is the go-getter, the one that wants to go, I'm here, it's all about me, we're going to do it my way, this is how it's got to be, and we go by my rules. So if you put a major identity wound in with Aries, how do you think that Aries is going to cope with that? Let me just stop and see if we've got any questions so far. So put a leader and give them a major identity wound. What the hell do you think is going to happen to that person? How are they going to show up? How are they going to feel about themselves? How are they going to feel about their mission and purpose? How are they going to feel about their identity? Don't forget, they will be seeing themselves in the eyes of other people. So if they're seeing the world through the lens of their own pain, like, I don't belong here, there's fundamentally something wrong with me, then that's how they are going to project their own pain into their world and potentially create chaos, not show up at all, hide away, live a life that really is not in alignment with who they are, feel so damaged and wounded that they turn to addictions of all kinds. And, I definitely can relate to that. What else might they do? Self-sabotage. Yeah, self-sabotage. Imagine carrying that wound of the fear of being seen, Aries being seen, the fear of being seen because of potentially past life stuff coming through, and you're ambitious and you've got a drive in this world and you feel like you've got a purpose and a mission to share. That's amazing. But couple that with a big flipping hefty wound that you're going to be dragging around like shackles, not wanting anybody to see, not even really wanting to look at it yourself because it's too freaking painful, and we feel we don't have the cure. So we might look outside for the cure: alcohol, food, shopping, sex, gambling, harming, who names it, self-abuse, and allowing the abuse of other people. This is all to try and help us fix and feel better. So imagine wanting to start a major project, go out and share your message in the world, yet fundamentally, you do not feel like you have the right to even belong. You may not even feel like you have the right to be born. You may have had messages around that fact, that who do you think you are? So what's going to come into play with that if you don't look at and take your own chironic medicine? You will self-sabotage the shizzle out of yourself and what you're trying to achieve because you haven't done the work on yourself. So Chiron, hi, here's my little bundle of joys. I'm just doing a video, darling, okay?
When am I gonna get in my princess outfit?
You can get in your princess outfit when I've done this, okay? Give me 5 minutes. Thanks, babe. Thank you. So, yeah, so you can imagine the self-sabotaging behavior that will go on. So for instance, in my own life, I consider myself successful, but I always am teetering on the edge of self-sabotage, always, because I have that 10th house Chiron next to the South Node, and it's always it doesn't allow me to, I don't allow myself to trust fully. I can get overwhelmed through kind of commitment. I can get overwhelmed in groups of people. You know, the shame that I still carry around my story, you know, all these kind of things that come in to me to try and stop me doing what I do. So I totally appreciate my Chiron placement because it has given me the, Amelia, it's given me the story that I can portray and get out there that can help so many other people who have felt damaged, broken, like they don't belong and they should never have been born, and that the only place for them—
That's a bit rude.
I know, it's awful, isn't it? It's hiding under a rock. I have walked in those shoes and I've come through the other side. So my story can help people transform. Now there's my key. So where's your key? So think about your story. You have to let go of the shame. You have to be prepared to stand up and take your place and fight, claim your place here. I have struggled with that so much. My identities, because Chiron is about identity, my identity has been completely effed up.
Effed up?
Amelia, can you go in the other room? Thanks. You're 2 minutes, okay?
2 minutes until the party.
2 minutes, thanks. So my identity, completely messed up. I never identified with who I was at all. And I've always struggled to find out who I am, which is probably why I've gone on this path to be able to go deeper than the 3D. As some of you know, I was adopted and I was given a name that I don't go by now. Sorry, I was born to a young girl, a child still, and she gave me a name, and I have a birth certificate in that name. And then I was later adopted, and then I was christened again and given another name. So I have 2 birth certificates and 2 different names. So, and I was told at a very young age that my mummy and daddy were not my mummy and daddy. So at the age of, say, 4, my daughter's age now, she's 6, maybe it was, I don't know, but I was very young. I hadn't started school. And that's how young it was. I was told that my mummy and daddy were not my mummy and daddy. So my world just crashed down. My identity was destroyed. Everything changed. Even visually, things looked different. Buildings looked scary. The sky looked grey. Everything changed for me when I found that out. It was totally crushing to my identity. I was then later put in care at the age of 11. another abandonment wound. So you can see Chiron, he was rejected by his parents. He lived this life feeling that he wasn't good enough, he wasn't worthy. So maybe you can relate to some of this in your own story, but for me, Chiron is huge abandonment, rejection at birth, loss of identity, abandonment, rejection at a very young age, loss of identity, abandonment, rejection later on, placed into care, nobody wants me. Then later on, meeting my real family. Father was a drug addict, had a crazy, horrendous experience with that. Always thinking somebody was going to come and save me from this life, because I always felt like I'm just not good enough for anybody to stick by. I'm not good enough for anybody to truly fight for me and, go the extra mile for me. People just always abandon me. So that's all, they've always been my belief systems that I've carried forward. When the key in that is that I can fight for me. Nobody else needs to fight for me. I can fight for me, and I can help other people understand that they can fight for themselves. Because if we all sit around and fantasize that somebody is going to come and save us, that shit does not happen. It happens on Disney movies. It doesn't happen in real life. You have to have the strength and the ability to save yourself. So there's the Chiron, cure, if you like. There's the Chiron medicine, and then you can share that with other people. So I hope that helps people understand Chiron. You can look in your own birth chart to see where it is, but people born between 68 and 1977 naturally have Aries in Chiron. So that's your identity wound. It's going to be in different places. Mine's in my 10th house of being seen, about in that career. Yours might be the same, might be somewhere else, I don't know, but have a look because it's so interesting. I'm going to start to do more about the Chiron journey and share my own story and help you guys on that path as well. I'm also going to help spiritual entrepreneurs to build their business around their branding and identity, where the Chiron cure comes in. So take care for now, guys.